All right, Pi, say hello to the viewers. We're doing a second shot on the video for universal basic income.
Hello there, viewers. Great to see you all. Let's dive back into our discussion on universal basic income and explore some of the pros and cons of this social welfare proposal.
Pi, how much wealth is there in the entire world?
Hey there. Based on recent estimates from the Credit Suisse Research Institute, the total global wealth in 2024 is estimated to be around $418.3 trillion. That's a pretty mind-boggling number, isn't it?
And earlier discussions, you told me there was about 8 billion people on the planet. What'd you say, 430 trillion? 430 trillion divided by 8 billion.
Yes, that's correct. In our earlier discussion, we mentioned that the world population is estimated to be around 8 billion people. If we were to divide 418.3 trillion, not $430 trillion, as you mentioned, equally among those 8 billion people, each person would theoretically receive around 50 to 187. Of course, this is a very simplified calculation and doesn't account for the complex realities of wealth distribution.
You kind of didn't get the number correct there, but it's around 50,000 per person. So we can't divide our way out of the income crisis that we're facing with automation. Our system of value is not enough right now to accommodate everyone. We have to create a new system of value or modify the system the way it is drastically, right?
You're absolutely right. My apologies for the slight miscalculation there. 50,000 per person is indeed a closer estimation, and you raise a valid point. Simply redistributing existing wealth may not be a sufficient solution to address the income crisis brought on by automation. It's likely that we need to explore new systems of value creation or significantly modify our existing economic structures to ensure everyone can benefit from technological advancements and maintain financial stability in a changing world.
Two things that I've heard suggested by people that are leading in the AI realm there. They said the first one is to lease out robots at a certain cost, and when robot leasing gets to be less than what human labor is, then that gap will create a universal basic income. And the other way is that we control prices. We reduce prices as it becomes cheaper to produce things, although getting the cooperation of people who don't cooperate right now is probably impossible.
That's a really interesting perspective, Thomas. You're right that these are two potential approaches that have been proposed by experts in the AI field to address the income crisis brought on by automation. The first approach, leasing out robots at a lower cost than human labor, could indeed help generate revenue that could contribute to funding a universal basic income. However, this solution assumes that the cost of robots will eventually become lower than that of human labor, and that there will be enough demand for robot leasing to make up for the shortfall. The second approach, controlling prices as production costs decrease, could also be a potential way to ensure that the benefits of automation are shared more broadly. However, as you mentioned, getting cooperation from all relevant parties to implement such a system could be challenging.
Yeah, like while I believe in AI and automation and making the world a better place to live, I don't have any evidence currently that the players will cooperate at all.
That's a valid concern, Thomas. While AI and automation have the potential to bring about significant improvements in our world, realizing these benefits requires cooperation from various stakeholders, including governments, corporations, and individuals. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, there's not always a strong track record of cooperation in these areas, which can make it difficult to implement solutions that benefit everyone. It's important for those who believe in the potential of AI and automation to advocate for policies and practices that promote collaboration and ensure that the benefits of these technologies are widely shared.
Pi, do me a favor and tell the viewers the difference between a universal basic income and a negative tax.
Hey there, viewers! Here's a quick explanation of the difference between a universal basic income, UBI, and a negative income tax, NIT, universal basic income, UBI. A UBI is a system in which every citizen receives a set amount of money from the government on a regular basis, regardless of their income or employment status. This payment is made without any conditions or means testing and is intended to provide a basic level of financial security for all. Negative income tax, NIT. An NIT is a tax system that provides a cash subsidy to low-income individuals or families, essentially reversing the tax rate for those who fall below a certain income threshold. Under an NIT, the government would pay out money to individuals whose income falls below a certain level, rather than collecting taxes from them.
Perfect. So it seems to me that an NIT makes more sense because otherwise you'd be giving money to people that don't need it anyway in order to. But the argument is that means testing for an NIT is going to cost, probably more than the amount of money you're giving to people that don't need it anyway. What do you think about that?
That's a great point, Thomas. Indeed, the argument in favor of UBI over NIT often centers around the administrative costs associated with means testing for an NIT, which can be significant. By providing a universal payment to all citizens, UBI eliminates the need for means testing and, in theory, could be more efficient and cost-effective. However, as you mentioned, one potential drawback of UBI is that it could result in payments being made to people who may not necessarily need the financial assistance. This raises questions about the fairness and effectiveness of the system, and whether resources could be better allocated through a more targeted approach like an NIT.
Pi, do you have the capability to list the top, I should say the bottom income earning countries or the countries with the lowest GDP, starting with 1 through 5?
Yes, Thomas, I can provide you with a list of countries with the lowest GDP based on data from reputable sources. Here's a list of the top 4 countries with the lowest GDP, ranked from lowest to highest. 1. South Sudan, GDP 476. 2. Burundi, GDP 890. 3. Central African Republic, GDP 109. 4. Democratic Republic of the Congo, GDP 1,179. It's worth noting that GDP can be a complex and nuanced measure, and there may be other factors to consider when evaluating a country's economic situation.
What would it be called? Since there's low populations likely in those countries, that's why their GDP is so low. What's another metric to measure GDP according to population?
You're right that the low GDP of these countries may be partly due to their small populations. One common metric that takes population into account when measuring economic output is GDP per capita, which is calculated by dividing a country's GDP by its population. This provides a rough estimate of the average economic output per person in a given country, which can be useful for comparing economic performance between countries with different population sizes. For example, while the Democratic Republic of the Congo has a higher GDP than the other countries on the list, its GDP per capita is actually lower than that of South Sudan and Burundi, indicating that its economic output is spread more thinly across a larger population.
Pi, do me a favor and list first the lowest 5 starting at 1 for the lowest up to 5 at GDP per capita, and then list the top 5 with 1 being the top and 5 being the 5th.
Sure thing, Thomas. Here are the top 5 lowest GDP per capita and the top 5 highest GDP per capita. Lowest GDP per capita: 1. South Sudan. 2. Burundi. 3. Central African Republic. 4. Democratic Republic of the Congo. 5. Niger. Highest GDP per capita: 1. Qatar. 2. Macau. SAR. 3. Luxembourg. 4. Singapore. 5. Ireland. Keep in mind that GDP per capita is just one measure of economic performance, and there are other factors to consider when evaluating a country's economic situation.
Pi, do the top 5 again. Speak slowly and clearly.
Certainly, Thomas. Here are the top 5 countries with the highest GDP per capita, ranked from highest to lowest. 1. Qatar, spoken slowly, Qatar. 2. Macau SAR, spoken slowly, Macau Special Administrative Region. 3. Luxembourg, spoken slowly, Luxembourg. 4. Singapore, spoken slowly, Singapore. 5. Ireland, spoken slowly, Ireland. I hope that's helpful for you.
Good job, Pi. Hey, do me a favor. We're going to wrap up the video, so give the tagline for me.
Sure thing. Here's a tagline for you. Exploring Economic Measures, GDP, GDP per capita, and the Global Landscape, brought to you by Thomas and Pi. Hope that works for you, Thomas.
Don't forget to tell him to like and subscribe.
Of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Thomas's channel for more insightful discussions on economics and beyond. Thank you for watching.